What up, everybody? It's Blessed Mindset, and we back at the Mastermind Academy. Today, we got my boy Officer Tatum going toe-to-toe with 20 black liberals. It's gonna get heated, guys. You know, a lot of liberals have strong views, and my boy Officer Tatum, he's nice at debating, but he is a huge MAGA guy, so it's opposing views. So enough talking, man. Let's get into this video, man. Simple.
I feel like you want to be confrontational more than you want to get to the bottom of a conversation. If you're 25 and under, the leading cause of death for you is being murdered by another black person.
I think you full of shit. That is the whole thesis of Up From Slavery.
No, it's
Did
not.
you read the book?
I did not read the book.
There you go. Then you don't know what you're talking about. You are
saying.
uneducated.
To say that Donald Trump is racist is the craziest thing I've heard.
Donald Trump.
Have you ever met Donald Trump?
Is systemic racism holding the black community back? Or has it become an excuse to avoid personal responsibility? Now, John was a little too white to handle this topic, so you got me. I'm Paris Rose from Jubilee Media, and this is Surrounded, where one brave soul faces a room full of disagreeers. Today, we're diving into policing in black communities, whether Republicans are better for the black community than Democrats, and the debate over systemic racism. I'm here with our featured guest, former police officer and conservative commentator, Brendan Tatum. I'm so happy to see you today. How you feeling?
I'm good. I'm blessed. I'm happy.
All right, you ready to take everyone on?
Oh, we about to get busy in here. So.
Oh, I love to hear it. Are you guys ready? Yeah! They sound ready. All right, let's go.
Hi, I'm Officer Tatum, and I'm the host of The Officer Tatum Show, and I'm surrounded by black liberals. My first surrounded claim is Trump and Republicans are better for the black community than Democrats.
If you'd like to be the first debater, get to that chair in 3, 2, 1.
Naima, nice to meet you.
Naima, nice to meet you as well.
Before I do my rebuttal, I would just like to know why you think that.
Well, there's a myriad of reasons. I think that conservative policies are more beneficial to the black community, is more beneficial to America, which black people are part of America. And I think that policies like limiting immigration or illegal immigration, getting illegal immigrants out of this country, lowering taxes, all benefit black people as a whole. Religious freedom, you name it, every single policy that I can think about that Republicans have implemented, that they stand for, the values they stand for are all better off for black people than Democrats could ever dream of.
How have you quantified? Okay, first of all, religious freedom is not just a Republican policy. I just want,
the
that's
Republicans
just in the
are far
Constitution.
more believe in the freedom of religion than Democrats could ever dream of.
I don't want to harp on that. That's in the Constitution. That's just not
religion
true.
From
but
every single aspect of life. No.
But I just want to focus on which one of Trump's policies specifically has been designed to help the black community.
Well, First Step Back has been designed to reverse the effects of over-policing from the past.
He has done that.
The First Step Act, yes, it was.
Okay.
To allow for people who were incarcerated with sentencing for drug dealing and less violent crimes for them to have some relief. My uncle got out on the First Step Act.
Okay.
Urban revitalization. Injecting money into these inner city communities. Permanent funding for HBCUs, which Barack Obama never did. Donald Trump implemented.
Okay.
I mean, I can go down the list.
Yeah,
and I think that lowering taxes and all the other benefits that Americans get is also beneficial to black people.
So it's funny because I've watched some of your videos, I've heard these talking points before, and I actually looked into all of these, and there's not a ton of quantitative impact on how those have actually affected just the black community. But let's talk about the Republican Party and Trump and his policies as a whole. Do you think that Trump reposting a video in which one of his supporters screams white power was beneficial to the black community?
I'm not familiar with some video that he posted.
Well, I mean, you should be,
Let's talk about Democrat policy.
You should be,
Let's talk about Democrat.
Bro, it's like he touched on so many things. Why didn't she just like refute what he said? I don't know.
No, see, no, now you're obfuscating. You are the one who has the burden. No, I'm sorry. I do not want to be interrupted.
It says right here
I do not want to
that Trump and Republicans are better than the Democrat policy.
So the burden of proof is on you. Yes. No, this is how a debate works. You've made a claim that you have to substantiate, and you have yet to do that.
I am wrong. So how are you correct in that Democrat policies are better than Republican policies?
Well, actually, do you want to know my personal belief is that the Democrats are fundamentally kind of apathetic to the needs of black people, while Republicans are openly antagonizing the black community.
Give me an example.
So, I mean,
what policy position is negative towards black people that Republicans implement?
Trump this year intentionally got rid of the disparate impact analysis. So what the disparate impact analysis does is that it analyzes laws that were made neutrally, policies that were intended to be neutral, to make sure that there were not any racial disparities as an effect of that policy, right? Accidentally. So Trump has removed the protection for the disparate impact analysis. So we don't know if the policies that we're enacting are disproportionately hurting the black community or not.
That doesn't make any sense. Any policy.
It doesn't make any sense. I agree.
No, what
it's a
you're
bad
saying
idea.
does not make any sense because the policies that are implemented,
yes,
the majority of the ones that in Congress are agreed upon by the House and the Senate,
right,
Democrats and Republicans.
Yes.
And so with that being said, there's black people represented. There's
Yes.
all kinds of
Well,
people
that's the
represented
point.
in creating our laws and
I know, but
policies.
that's the point.
So
But
what are you
not
saying that they're
everything-
not considering
But
whether or
here's-
not it has a desperate effect on black,
So
the black
here's the
community?
thing. When you create a policy, obviously you are creating it in good faith. But we do not know always how that policy is going to affect the
Give me an
population.
example of a
Can
policy.
I finish
Give
talking?
me an example of a policy.
But I'm
'Cause
trying to explain to
I'm running
you.
out of time.
So the point of the disparate analysis report is to check to make sure that the laws that we implement in good faith don't end up hurting the black community by accident. Why would you get rid of that?
Why do you think he got rid of it,
Because
according
he's
to you?
racist.
To say that Donald Trump is racist is the craziest thing I've heard.
Donald Trump.
Have you ever
Friend.
have you ever met Donald Trump personally?
No.
You don't know him?
No. So
Why
you've
would you
met
say
Donald
I've
Trump.
met Donald Trump several times?
So you're basing his whether or not he's racist
You
just
don't
on
have any
your personal-
evidence. You're saying because he allegedly got rid of some desperate impact analysis that somehow that has something to do with race and it only affects black
But
people.
your evidence is anecdotal. Oh, Trump was nice to me one time,
I
therefore
have
he's
no-
not a racist.
I have no evidence to
Of
believe
course
that
he's
Trump
nice
is a
to you,
racist.
because you are
Where's the
excusing
evidence that
his
Trump is a racist?
racism. Okay, I'll
Where's
give
it?
you more evidence.
Give me
In
evidence.
1973, his company was sued for violating the Fair Housing Act by openly discriminating
What was
against
the
black
findings?
renters.
What was the findings of that?
He was actually forced to settle.
He was forced to settle.
Yes,
made
he
the
was forced to
decision
settle. No, he had
There
to
was no
settle.
finding.
Sorry, guys, I'm about to read this real quick. President 30. The government relied partly on tests in which black applicants were told that no apartments were available while white applicants were offered units.
Finding of fault.
Why
Was it-
would someone settle
Was it
if they
finding
were
of
not
fault? You
guilty?
can make up
Why
whatever you
would someone
want.
settle
You
if
can
he
say,
wasn't
why
doing
would-
it?
Was there a determination?
As well as accounts from former employees describing racial coding of applicants, including C for colored. The Trumps denied discrimination, retained authority, and filed $100 million counterclaim that was dismissed. The case was resolved in 1975. Consent order without. I don't know what this means, guys. I gotta look into this.
In court that he was at fault.
Act by openly discriminating
What was
against
the
black
findings?
renters.
What was the findings of that?
He was actually forced to settle.
He was forced to settle.
Yes,
made
he
a
was
decision
forced to settle. No, he had
There
to
was
settle.
no finding of fault.
Why
Was it-
would someone settle
was
if
it
they
finding
were
of
not
fault? You
guilty?
can make up
Why
whatever
would
you
someone
want.
settle
You
if
can
he
say,
wasn't
why
doing
would-
it?
Was there a determination in
Yes,
court that he was at fault?
also forced to.
No. Was
yes.
there a determination in court that he was at fault?
He settled, so they didn't have a determination in court. He got out of it by settling, which is what you do when you are guilty,
That's
but
not
you
true.
don't want to go to court.
That's not
yes,
the way our
that
sy-
is
that's
exactly
not the way
what
the
the point
system
of settling
works.
is. Yes,
No,
you
it's
settle
not.
out. Yes.
He had a dissent decree, which they agreed that he would implement certain things in his organization. There was no fault granted. They did not prove
What were the
any,
things that
any
he had to
discrimin-
implement in his company?
recruiting. It was a form of it was that
I
he
think
had
you're
to
thinking
have,
about a different lawsuit against the Trump administration.
He had to make sure that they have job applications available to minorities.
No, this wasn't about jobs. This was about the Trump Corporation, the real estate. Yes, they
I
violated the
don't-
Fair Housing Act
well,
because
maybe we talking about something
I think,
different.
well, there were
because
2 times he was sued for racism.
I only
is the
know of
issue.
one time.
Yeah,
he
well,
had
you
a
should
dis-
learn
he-
about the other one because
I
it
don't
was
think-
bad too. Yes.
I don't think you know what you're talking about.
I don't think you know
The
what you're
dissent
talking
decree, which was established, there was no findings of Donald Trump being a racist, and his organization has been without fault.
No, that was.
You cannot find a court
that is not
document
true.
that says that Donald Trump officially discriminated against anybody.
He literally marked.
What's your next one?
He literally marked black applicants.
What's your next one? What's your next
Okay,
example of Trump being a racist?
When he reposted the Obamas as monkeys.
Now he did not. He already said that he did not post that. It was somebody on his staff, and the post wasn't even about that. That was a
Bro,
real.
it was
that was
on
a real.
his
that was a real.
account.
And then when it came out, he denounced it. He said it was wrong.
It was on his account already.
One of the
How
staffers posted it.
Why would one of his staffers even have that? Even if it wasn't
You're
him,
making the
why
post
would
sound
he
like
not
the post was
post it?
about that. It was a meme created by somebody else. And
Are
at the
you
end of
really
the post-
defending depicting black people as monkeys? Like that's crazy.
And Hillary
That's
Clinton.
crazy.
And Hillary Clinton was
Oh,
a,
and now
was
you're
a
gonna point-
pig,
da, 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 da.
and it was all kind of people depicted as animals. It
Yeah.
wasn't just about Barack Obama. Did Donald Trump
Has
make the video?
any other president done that?
Did Donald
ever?
Trump make the video?
Has any other president done
No,
that?
you're
ever?
blaming him. Did Donald Trump make the video?
I don't know if he made it, but
No,
it
he
doesn't
did
matter.
not.
It's about what he posts.
Did he denounce what they represented?
If I posted something that said "kill all of X people," that's what I believe,
no,
right?
that's not true.
Even
Somebody-
if I didn't type it out
That's not
and
true.
put it in Canva and then post it,
if somebody
it's
posted,
still what I believe.
If somebody posted something offensive on your account and you denounce it, is that a fair statement to say you don't believe in that?
No, I don't think that's true. I would like to be held accountable.
He
If somebody,
he said he didn't believe
If I
it.
hired someone to post on my behalf and they posted racist statements,
And you said- and
that
you-
would
I'm
be
gonna have
on
to
And
me.
you
pause
took it
here.
down,
No. I
and
have
you
to
told
pause
them,
here.
I'm sorry.
and you said to the world, you don't believe that to be
Officer
true.
Tatum, we have to pause here. All right, you have been voted out by the majority. Thank you so much for your
Thank
time.
you.
If you would like to be the next debater, get to the chair in 3, 2, 1.
Hey, how you?
So I'd like to talk about Trump and the Republicans, not specifically on Trump, but focusing upon the history of the Republican Party because he's just the latest iteration of that, okay?
Yeah, let's do it.
So The Republican Party has a proven track record of giving platforms to sellouts who promote a message that harms black people.
Who
And
is
I'll
that?
give you
Who
an
is the
example.
sellout that you give me an example?
Well, there are actually quite a few, but I'll start with the
But no,
earliest
let's start with this
example.
premise. The first black legislators,
Right.
or the first black people in Congress, House of Representatives, were all Republicans.
Right. So let me explain that to you.
Is that a fact pattern?
Right. Yes. So basically what happened is the last of the radical Republicans, which was a segment of the Republican Party that passed the 14th Amendment, all of the amendments that gave black people the right to vote and ensured that slaves would not be disenfranchised. He died in August 11th.
No. Black people, I mean, Republicans
let me explain.
unanimously voted.
He died in 1868 when the 14th Amendment was passed.
The
And then guess
Republicans
what?
as a whole
Right.
voted unanimously.
No.
The Democrats did not.
Right, but guess what? After the radical Republican faction left Congress,
Radical Republican, that's
yes,
not- that's the-
they
you
are. They
make
were.
that up.
They were a historic. No. That's a title.
Who-
They were
who was the-
historic.
who was the radical Republican
they
faction?
They were a segment of the Republican Party
Who?
that
Name one.
Thaddeus Stevens. He's an example. They are the ones who created the Freedmen's Bureau, which was designed to assimilate ex-slaves into the national citizenry. After they left, the Republican Party constructed an oligarchy, which we called the Gilded Age, and in which we saw the fate of black people decline. Black home ownership declined. Black voting declined.
I hope they fact check you on
all
this.
of that.
The Republicans unanimously voted.
No, not after that.
The Republicans unanimously voted for the 13th, 14th, and 15th
Yes,
Amendment.
under the leadership of the radical Republicans, and they were
Republicans
progressives.
unanimously voted for the Civil Rights
Yes,
Act.
and then after the radical Republicans left, they stopped doing that.
When did the radical Republicans leave? You saying the radical Republicans?
1868, the last person
1860,
died.
that's
Yes.
not true.
It is 100% true.
Because
Now,
the
but wait,
Republicans unanimously
let me
voted
get back to what
for
I
the
was
Civil
saying.
Rights
Let me
Act.
get back to what I was saying.
The Republicans unanimously voted for the Civil Rights
You're
Act.
bulldozing and you're steamrolling because you don't want to hear what I have to say.
Let's quantify that point.
Listen, brother.
The Republicans
listen to
unanimously
what I
vote
have
for
to
the
say.
Civil Rights Act.
Listen to what I have to
Why
say
won't you
that
answer
you can
that question?
respond to it, okay?
Why won't you answer that question?
Booker T. Washington was fated by the white racist establishment. He had tea at Windsor Castle by Queen Victoria. He met Susan B. Anthony. He was allowed to create the Tuskegee Institute because he was promoting this myth of personal responsibility,
It wasn't
which
a
harms
myth.
black people.
The most
Yes,
successful
it is.
documented
No.
black
No.
man who lifted so many black people
No.
from poverty to success was Booker T. Washington.
No,
The Tuskegee
he did
Institute
not. Jim
was
Crow,
incredible for black success in
the
America.
institutionalization of Jim Crow was a direct result of his false
No, it's
message.
not. What was his false message?
His message
Personal
was that
responsibility?
black people were not fit to participate in the political process
not true.
because slavery had set them
Where-
backwards.
where do
and
you
so
see
all of
that
the
Booker
black
T. Washington mentioned
congressmen,
that?
it's in his book.
You saying he mentioned that black people were not fit to
Yes, that
participate
is
in
the whole
No, it's
thesis of
not.
Up From Slavery.
No, it's
Did
not.
you read the book?
I did not read the book.
There you go. Then you don't know
Well,
what you're talking
I
about.
know other-
Let me tell you
I know
something, brother.
other
I am a
things.
history teacher.
Let me finish what
I
I'm
teach
saying.
in the public school
Let me
system.
finish what I'm
You are
saying.
uneducated.
Let me finish what I'm saying. You cannot
you don't
teach
know
in the
what you're
public school
talking
system
about.
if you're telling me that Republicans did not
You
unanimously vote for the 13th, 14th,
you are
15th
being
Amendment and the Civil Rights
You
Act.
are being given
You cannot
a
tell me you're a
platform
teacher
as
if
a
you are
token,
not and you do not understand.
You are
Wait,
lying
guys,
about
do
the
not
historical
talk over each other. We can't
Republicans-
hear anything either of you are saying.
He's not allowing me to make a single point.
Because I'm making points.
No, because you're afraid.
Of what?
Of the truth.
I just
That's
explained
what-
to you.
When
I
you
just
earn,
explained to you.
when
Why
you
can't
earn a
you
living
answer-
off of lies, you are afraid of the
Give
truth.
me a lie that I've told.
The idea that Republican policies benefited black people, and that
I
is
just
not
gave you
true.
Republican
No,
policies.
let
Give me-
me give you an example.
Give me examples that they've hurt black people.
I'll give you an example. During the Hoover administration, 43% of the black people who were employed in domestic work. And the reason for that is because they were shut out of truly gainful employment. And the segment who was hurt the most were black men. Black women could get jobs as maids and things of that sort. But black men, any job that gave them the opportunity for social dignity, value, and worth, they were systematically denied. And a lot of it had to do with Booker T. Washington's message. Now, guess what?
Booker T. Washington's message
has been harmful.
that I have.
You have not
I've
read the book.
portions of his message.
No, read the whole book.
I will read the whole book. But you cannot sit here and tell me that Booker T. Washington's message was
It hurt
disenfranchising to black people.
And guess what?
That's not true.
Guess what he acknowledges in his
So
book?
the Tuskegee Institute was detrimental to black
Guess
people.
what he said?
No, was the Tuskegee
Yes, it was,
Institute
and let me tell you
detrimental to black
why.
people?
He acknowledged that
That is
the
insane.
people in Tuskegee, Alabama, the white community there, only allowed him to create that institute because he assured them he would not be teaching them anything that would lift them out of domestic status, anything that pertained to higher education, any knowledge of their history, or just the humanities, anything that white people took for granted in normal universities. It was designed to keep black people oppressed. That was the point.
Up from slavery. Booker T. Washington had a message of black success and personal accountability and responsibility.
And it's
he
a
did
lie.
not
And it's a
depend
lie.
on the government to do the things that black people
Yes,
could
he
already
did
do.
deny on the government.
He did not.
Yes, he
did
did.
not make his mission and his plan to
Yes,
say
he
that
did.
black people should depend on the government.
This is the
That
lie
is a
for
lie.
everybody who is listening to me. The lie is that black people should focus solely upon family and their economic status and ignore agitations
It's
for
not
social
ignoring, it's
social equality. No,
It's
and he actually
prioritizing
says,
the family,
he actually says in that
personal
book
responsibility.
that agitations for social equality are the extremist folly because black people are not prepared to be social equals to white people. He actually says that. That has been the program of the Republican Party ever since.
First of all, that's a lie.
And now, guess what else
That's
happened?
a lie.
So, after...
Why did the Democrats have, until Cory Booker recently, had the longest filibuster against the Civil Rights Act?
Right, I'll tell you
The
why.
longest in history,
So basically what
besides the
happened
recent one.
is prior to that act, there were a number of Dixiecrats who were the inheritors.
Racist Democrats.
I'll tell you, the inheritors of slavery, chattel slavery, and then the Jim Crow era that
Racist
took its
Democrats.
place. Guess what? After those acts, the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act were passed,
Unanimously
guess
by
what?
Republicans.
There was a 20 to 30% shift away from the Democratic Party into the Republican Party, and then, surprisingly, Nixon begins his war on drugs, which is a part of his law and order program. And guess what happens? Black people become 6 to 7 times higher to be arrested for drug abuse versus white people. They are mass incarcerating us, and it is directly tied to Republican policies.
No,
Okay,
it's
we
not.
have to pause here. We have to pause here. You have been voted out by the majority. Thank you so much. If you would like to be the next debater, get to that chair in 3, 2, 1. Ooh.
Watch out now. How you doing?
I'm doing good. So your claim is that Trump and Republicans are better for the black community than Democrats.
Yes.
Okay. I think that claim is patently false, and let me explain why. Take the institution of voting, the most sacred thing that the Constitution protects, something that we need for elected officials to represent us.
Okay.
Repeatedly, Republicans have used the judiciary to discriminate against black people in voting.
How?
We have cases like Louisiana versus Calais. The recent case that in 2026 it's caused all the redistricting crisis that you see right now. And when you see the effects of that for the black community, the Congressional Black Caucus is set to lose 16 to 19 members, 30% of its representation. Regardless of anything that you are saying communities should be doing, you have to still elect people to represent you to make those policy decisions.
Yeah, but
let me finish.
Okay, I'll let you finish.
If you are erasing the ability for people to have that representation and you're making it even harder to vote, like decisions like Shelby v. Holder, which makes it harder to eliminate discriminatory laws, or you have cases like Brnovich v. DNC, which are striking the ability to challenge laws that we think are discriminatory for mail-in voting, it's not good and it's not reasonable to say that Republicans are representing black people's interests.
Let me put this in simplistic terms. Voting is a sacred right.
Yes.
Right? And black people were afforded voting rights, which we all should fight for. Having voter ID is protecting that sacred right, that black people will make sure that black people can actually vote without being eliminated in their voting power by illegal aliens.
This goes beyond.
Let me go point by point.
Wait.
Want to allow
This goes way beyond
illegal
voter ID.
aliens
This goes
to
way
vote in the
beyond.
elections.
This goes way beyond
And they don't
voter
want
ID.
secure
You simply
elections.
don't want. They simply don't want people who are black to be elected.
How is that possible?
Because majority and minority districts were created by the Voting Rights Act of 1965. That specific piece of legislation, which Republicans have repeatedly targeted through decades, has said, hey, there was history done here that harmed people, and as a way to make up for it, slowly over time, we need to designate specific areas, black populous areas, to have accurate representation
And what
of
did the
folks.
Supreme Court rule?
The Supreme Court ruled that, hey, actually, no, you guys don't need this representation.
Because you cannot
this
do
is
it
unconstitutional.
based on race.
Certainly you can.
You cannot redistrict and you cannot do that based on race.
You cannot deny black people from having the right to
Black
vote and
people-
represent themselves.
Okay, let me explain.
Because you have white people in Louisiana versus Calais. That's what the case is.
Let me
Okay, yeah,
get-
pause
let me
here.
get some-
Let
this is-
Officer Tatum speak.
Okay, this is the problem here. You are assuming that black people can only vote for Democrats.
No, I didn't assume
yes,
that
you
at
are,
all.
because
No,
the
I
redistricting.
didn't. Where did I say that?
Because
When did I say
I'm
that?
saying you're insinuating that.
I'm not
because
insinuating
you
that
cannot
either.
draw lines of demarcation based on race. That is against the United States Constitution. They ruled that, which is why they had to redraw lines. Black people have a right to vote for anybody that they want that acts in the best interest of the black community or the community at large. It doesn't have to always be Democrats.
There's
So
a
if-
reason
if-
why
so
people.
if-
There's a reason why black people vote for Democrats, and there's a reason
Which
why
is-
there's only five
which is the
elected
problem
only 5 elected
which is the
Republicans in
problem-
Congress that are
which
black.
is the problem in the black community today. The consistency of voting for these Democrats who ain't done nothing for black people and still haven't. We're to this day, many people that are sitting around here still complaining about the plight against the black people, but y'all still vote for Democrats. And Democrats have been elected in office for the majority of the time in the last decade.
Republicans
and
have done
what
way,
have they done?
Republicans
Nothing
have
for black people.
Republicans have done way more damaging things, even just
That is
as
not true. Give me an
recent.
example.
Just recently with Doge, we had the highest exodus of black women in the federal workforce. I'm not sure if you're not aware of that information, but
Doge,
wait, I'm not sure if you're aware of that information.
Doge
But
is cutting spending.
and cutting spending for social
So you
services,
think that-
increasing poverty, increasing crime,
We cut
increasing
spending.
death, and harming people over and over
We're
again. You are
cutting
doing
spending.
nothing
No.
to help the black community. community
No,
and
you
trying
want-
to perpetuate a policy platform that insists that black people need to be put down is not
That
going
is
to
a
put
lie.
people forward.
That is a lie.
Absolutely
You are
not.
saying that we're going to cut government spending, but we should leave all the black people there because they're black.
No, we
If
should,
you're cutting government
we
spending,
should increase government spending by taxing the rich, funding our communities, and putting pedophiles in jail instead of putting people in power.
Taxing the rich is a foolish statement by you. What do you mean by taxing the rich?
We in California have already seen.
That's why people are leaving California.
Oh, wait.
That's why business owners are leaving here. Companies are leaving. They're fleeing.
In California, even in the basic past, when we taxed the rich, we were able to fund the University
They
of California
leave.
systems. And what did Ronald Reagan do? Ronald Reagan said, let's slash that because black people need to suffer, communities need to go down. And what do we know? Now we have budget.
just
No,
a
now we have budget
blatant lie.
deficits affecting our systems. We have laws from the 1970s still
Let's
on the
talk about
books
taxing the
affecting.
rich.
Oh, wait.
That is a lie.
We can
that
talk
the
about
Democrats
taxes too. Let's go.
Are still selling black folks to this day.
That-
Taxing the rich they're not going to change the tax code. So taxing the rich is a myth. Would you benefit more financially if you left California?
Depends on how I use my money because I'm a smart person.
It doesn't matter about being smart because the taxes are out of control.
I think money and how you manage
taxes-
it as your person. When we talk about personal
All right, we have to
If you
responsibility.
pause
manage
it
money
here.
well, you're still going to be
We
less
do have to pause it
successful
here.
here
You've been voted
financially.
out by the majority. Thank you so much.
Pleasure talking with you.
If you would like to be the next debater, get to that chair in
Bro,
3,
did not let him
2,
talk at
1.
all.
Right.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
Stop.
I wanted to ask, just in terms of him refusing to sign not only the Affordable Housing Act, but also refusing to sign the bipartisan 2024 bill when it comes to putting more money on our borders, right? Because you talked about immigration. Why would he refuse these acts if, in reality, if we put more money there, we would have more officers and less fear, and we would be able to actually have legal immigration streamlined more cleanly? Because the question is not, I'm guessing you're not against immigration, you're against illegal immigration. Or, tell me more.
For the most part, I'm against illegal immigration, but I also believe we need to measure how much immigration we're actually allowing in this country when people in America have needs that we need to address here.
How do you measure that?
We allow 1 million immigrants legally in the United States of America
Okay.
every single year. And we all in here care about the issues that go on in the black community. I would
Yes.
argue that black people need the financial support that we're giving these immigrants that are coming over here. I think it's not right.
Illegal immigrants actually don't get federal support.
They do get federal support.
Illegal immigrants,
If
fact check that. Illegal immigrants do not have federal support. But actually, what I will say is that immigrants overall pay taxes. and
Immigrants,
put money. Illegal immigrants do not get federal support.
access to
Illegal
social
or
programs.
immigrants?
They get access
Illegal
to
immigrants or
Medicare.
immigrants?
They get access to all immigrants, but illegal immigrants do as well.
Oh, I'm talking about specifically the border bill. Why did he reject that?
Because bills are not isolated. It's got a bunch of minutia, a bunch of spending that he doesn't agree with, and the Republicans don't agree with.
But did he not agree with?
All of those bills have
No, actually,
access
a lot
spending.
of Republicans, it was a bipartisan bill.
Well, then why? You tell me why he didn't sign it.
No, I'm asking
No,
you.
you tell me why he didn't
No,
sign it. Then
I'm asking you.
You're saying that he's doing it because he's
No,
racist.
I'm not saying. I didn't say that. Why are you putting one? I genuinely am trying to ask you why didn't he?
The bill is not just singularly about border patrol.
But
It's
okay,
not.
if we're talking about healthcare,
We do have to pause
by
here.
2034, 10
We
million
have to
Americans
pause
are going
here.
to
The
lose their
clock has run out.
healthcare.
I'm so sorry. Thank you both so much.
So that's
Love the passion, though.
Time moves fast, but your credit score doesn't have to stay stuck. I remember how overwhelmed I felt trying to fix my credit. An app is not paid.
Particular approval, offer subject to change. Average first year credit score impacted plus 86 points between August 2024 and August 2025. For account credit account users who started the score below 600, who paid on time and had no delinquencies or collections items impacted by during the period. Late payments can negatively impact credit score.
Claim is that police officers do more good in the black community than harm.
All right, if you would like to be the next debater, get to the chair in 3, 2, 1.
I want to hear why you think that police do more good in the black communities than harm.
Well, when you look at the functionality of law enforcement, meaning that the people who perpetuate crime in the black community are arrested by law enforcement officers, removing them from the community, removing the predators, the drug dealers, and all of that from the community, which is a good thing. And I cannot name other things that are harmful that outweigh all of the good that the police officers do.
How did the police first come about?
But you be more
Slave
detailed
patrol.
than that.
The slave
That's
patrol,
not true.
yeah, it's
the police,
literally
that's
true.
two different
Fact check it.
functionalities.
Fact
They can
check
fact check
it.
it.
It's
That's
the
two different
origins-
functionalities.
the origins
You're talking
of
about slave
policing-
patrols
the
and
origin
modern day
of
policing is completely different.
The origins of policing
not true.
within the United States of America
That's not true.
derive from the slave patrol.
That's
They
not
still
true.
use the same badges.
That's not true.
The same, the
That's not true.
stars on the.
That's not true.
Fine. That's
the
fine.
functionality of slave patrols and the jurisdiction
I'm
that
not
slave
talking about
patrols had
functionality. I'm
versus the
talking about
functionality and
actual-
jurisdiction of law
it
enforcement
derived
is
from
completely
the
different.
entire premise
That's
of
not true.
slave patrol. That's fine. That's fine.
That's not
Listen,
true.
okay, cool. So you don't think there's an issue with policing in the black community?
No.
You don't think there's an issue with stop and frisk?
No.
You don't think that there's an issue with like flock cameras and geo tracking?
No.
Got it. Okay.
I think
cool.
that helps eliminate crime.
Sure. Have you ever heard of the Veil of Darkness study?
No, I have not.
Okay. The Veil of Darkness study was a study that was completed where 95 million traffic stops were actually checked across the United States of America. Vast pool, right? The methodology accounted for the time of day, for traffic, location, different shifts. Would you like to know what they found in that study when it came to policing and black people?
That black people commit more traffic violations than other people.
No.
That is true.
Black people were stopped for more
Why?
traffic violence. Hold on, I got you.
Because they commit more traffic violations.
You don't know the study. How are you going to answer?
I know what other studies and statistical data points show.
Okay, then give me another study that actually. Oh, sure.
You think they're just pulling black people over just because they see a black person driving down the street?
Literally,
That's
the
not
Veil
true.
of Darkness
You
study.
have no evidence.
The Veil of Darkness study that was done by Stanford and backed up by the CDC actually showed that what happens is during the day, police officers use racial bias because they can see people and they pull people. I'm going to finish my sentence.
Made a traffic stop in your life.
I'm literally going to
let you finish.
They pull black people over during the day at a disproportionate rate than white people, but at nighttime, when you can't see and it's harder to tell someone's actual race, then the average drops and it equals out.
Okay,
they actually found that in the study, 95 million traffic violations, that when you can't see someone's race, you focus on the traffic violations versus the day you focus on the people.
Let me tell you why your study is flawed. For one reason, I was a police officer many years. I do traffic stops during the day, and you cannot always tell the race of a person during the day, no matter what. Secondary,
I agree.
They're secondary. When you are patrolling, majority of the black people that you engage with live in what? Black communities.
Over police.
So you're going to make an excuse. We can get to that.
I'm not making an excuse.
You're making
I'm
an
just telling
excuse.
you.
When you're in a black community, you only have options to pull over black people.
Give me any type of empirics that disagrees with the Veil of Darkness study.
Let me finish. I believe that there's clearly a flaw in what you're saying this study represents.
Sure.
Because
How can you
in the
critique
black
methodology if
community,
you haven't looked at it?
in the black community, I have plenty of other.
You got trust me, bros.
I did it for a living.
Yeah, that's a cool
and
story,
you did not.
bro.
So,
I've looked at the information.
I'm telling you why the study. I'm telling you why the study is wrong.
Do you think your one-off experience is indicative of all policing around the country?
I'm telling you why your study is off. When you're looking at patrolling in black neighborhoods, you cannot. How are you going to make a fair comparison of how many white people pulled over versus black people when there's only black people present in the black neighborhood? The Veil of Darkness cannot get in the minds of a police officer and determine whether or not the police officer pulled a person over because of their color or the violation.
It literally shows. If you look at the data set,
get in the mind and prove that a cop was looking at a black man in a racially targeted.
The Veil of Darkness study, it shows not only the reason why they were pulled over, but it shows the ones that were thrown out. They were disproportionately pulled over, and disproportionately pulled over, and there was a disproportion of black violations that were thrown out.
It doesn't matter.
Why?
Disproportionality.
Why is it so many black people pulled over and then so many of the violations were thrown out?
You got to look at it like this. If you're looking at traffic stops across the country, different jurisdictions have different mandates and they have different standards for what they throw out as traffic violations. So you cannot make a generalization across the entire country.
Yes, you can. You know what's consistent across the entire country? White supremacy.
White supremacy is consistent
have anything to do with traffic stop? It's literally racism. They're literally trained.
You're projecting your bias. Tell me how they train. Have you been through police training?
No, I have not.
I went through police training.
Sure, cool story.
And they do not teach discrimination in police training.
Why is it that police officers spend more time in black neighborhoods disproportionately?
They're committing more crimes.
They're not.
Yes, they are.
Who commits the most violent crimes in America today?
Per capita, black people.
Not per capita, period.
Black people do.
No, white people.
No,
white men,
that's
specifically.
a lie.
FBI data. Fact check it. FBI data shows that white men specifically. Specifically commit the most violent crime in the United States of America. If you're talking about property crimes, yes, it's black people.
I'm talking about violent crime.
Fact check it. FBI data shows that white men specifically commit the most violent crime in the United States of America. If you're talking about property crimes, yes, it's black people.
I'm talking about violent crimes.
Violent crimes is white men, including CSAM. White men, if you could talk per capita with CSAM, you can talk numbers. White men disproportionately represent CSAM and violent crime.
Murder rate and violent crimes disproportionately represent
the black community.
All right, we're going to have to pause here, so I'm glad you guys took a pause. You have been voted out. Thank you so much.
Give me 10 minutes.
She's making up stats.
If you would like to be the next debater, get to that chair in 3, 2, 1.
All right. Everything I heard, everything I've listened to thus far, I think you're full of shit. You're a police officer.
No, give me an example of what I said that wasn't true.
Let me get to it.
Give me something I said that wasn't true.
I don't think anybody here would disagree that good policing is bad. We're talking about bad policing. We're talking about bullshit policing. We're talking about the kind of policing that puts gentlemen like you and me in prison for unjust crimes. You like to cite that you're a police officer. Let me cite my professional background. Let me cite my professional background.
I have been in that profession.
10 years writing policy in government.
You weren't
at
a
the
police
local
officer.
and
But you weren't
state
a
of
police
California
officer.
levels. And
you never arrested anybody.
You didn't write policy. I did.
I enforced the law.
So, okay, I write the law.
But you don't enforce the law.
You don't enforce the law.
I
you don't
enforce the
enforce the law appropriately.
You just made it
You'd
up.
like to use one-offs, let me use a one-off.
You don't need to use one-off, you just make
in
it
the
up.
city of San Diego, there was a black police officer that sued the San Diego Police Department.
Anecdotal.
With regard to, I mean, bro, all day you've been coming up with me. Now
I got
it's
statistical data points. Where do you want to go?
Like, I need you to keep that same
Black
energy,
people
bro.
commit
I need you to
over
keep the
half of
same
all violent
energy.
crimes.
And that's the problem with black conservatives like yourself. You don't know how to keep
You're
the same
just
energy.
talking emotionally.
It was
Give me some facts.
me. Well, I'm trying to give you facts.
come on with it.
You supposed to be a police officer. Hold your head, bro. Hold your head. You interrupted everybody, bro. I got
You're
what,
here to
2-3
debate me.
minutes.
I'm not here to listen to you talk in circles.
But you talking like you was a state trooper, you was a Secret
But
Service.
I know cops all across the country.
But I did too.
I know
I do
policy.
too.
I know
I
all
do
that.
too.
All right, get to your point.
You don't know policy because you've never written one. He
We're
said
talking
nah.
about policing in the black community. We're not talking about
I want
policy
to hold
writing.
you to account because police officers like you don't like accountability. So I want to hold you to account. I'm trying to get my story out, and if I can finish my story.
This is not story time, man. The point is, police do more good.
The point was,
police do more
the point
good
was, with
in the
regard
black
to
community.
training, the San Diego Police Department showed a video training officers of that department depicting black people as primary perpetrators of crime. That's not true. My last guy that was just up here, who commits the most crimes in America
Black
is
people
white
do.
people. Name me the last black mass murderer in America.
I mean,
That
it
shot
happened-
up schools,
It happened in
malls.
the hood every day.
I didn't ask about the hood. Mass
That's
murdering.
mass shooting, bro. Go to Chicago to 4th
What's the
of July.
definition of a mass
It's
shooter?
mass shooting.
What's the definition
2
of a
or more
mass
people
shooter?
shot. It's a mass shooting, according to the FBI. I could tell you to go to any inner city in the United States of America and go just this past weekend, and you've seen multiple mass shootings that occurred in that community. I don't know them by name.
I can
but
cite you Columbine. I can cite you
you're
Sandy
talking about,
Hook.
You're talking about a shooting
You're-
isolated at a school. We're talking about violence. We're talking about murder rates. Black people commit over half of all murders in this country. Is that true or not?
That's not true.
That is
That's
true. What are you
categorically-
saying?
that's-
All right, we do have
that's
to pause
categorically
here.
false.
Black people commit disproportionate amounts and over half of all violent crimes in this country.
Okay, Officer Tatum, both of you guys, we have to stop here because you have been voted out. Thank you so much for your time. If you would like to be the next debater, get to that hot seat in 3, 2, 1.
All right, what's up, bro?
I would argue that the resources, that the cost of hiring a police officer could be significantly better used in revitalizing the black community rather than affording more cops. As you've seen in the city of New York, when they increased the amount of funding they're putting in schools, when they increased having childcare for people, when they increased training for people to get jobs, they saw the lowest crime rate that they've seen in years.
Right, this is where I think we can agree on. We got to walk and chew gum at the same time. As we see resources provided and crime go down, then we can begin to shrink the availability of law enforcement in that said community. You don't do one before the other. You can't just say, I'm gonna take resources from the law enforcement officers. Crime will go out of control. If I was to concede to your point, we need to see these crime statistics begin to decrease. Therefore, you can justify decreasing law enforcement. You cannot think that because you build a park, that somebody ain't gonna be shooting and acting a fool in the hood. That is a generational thing that's gonna have to happen. And right now, we still got people out today that don't give a F about a park. We've seen plenty of cases that people have built incredible schools, they built parks, roadways, availability to activities for people, and they still out here cutting up. And a lot of it is the way people are raised, the culture that people are embracing. And I would argue that black people are embracing that wasn't even black culture to start with. Those things need to be addressed, and they are the most detrimental to the black community than even funding and defunding police.
And I hear you, but I still agree that.
All right, we're gonna have to pause here. I'm so sorry. You have been voted out by the majority. If you would like to be the next debater, please get to the chair in 3, 2, 1.
What's up, bro?
I just want to take a second to acknowledge that you're being roasted and you're being very polite about it. So thank you for that.
I'm doing what?
I say you're getting roasted right now, but you're being very polite about it, and I appreciate that.
Oh, thank you for your conceding to my arguments. Okay.
I wouldn't say that, but okay. So you're familiar with broken window policing, right?
Where'd he get
I'm familiar
that
in
from?
part.
Yeah, just for people that don't know, it's just a uniform enforcement.
Conceding to my arguments. Okay.
I wouldn't say that, but okay. So you're familiar with broken window policing, right?
I'm familiar in part.
Yeah, just for people that don't know, it's just a uniform enforcement of both significant and insignificant laws, right? And I think we could both agree that there are laws in this country that shouldn't exist, right? Or just
Well, give me an example, because I can't concede to it if I don't know what you're talking about.
Marijuana, right? Like in the state of Texas, if you're caught with marijuana, you can be a felon, right? I think we can both agree that that's dumb.
But I don't agree to that. I mean, people
Right.
vote on it and they'll
Sure.
pass what the majority believe. I don't agree to that.
Sure.
I think in some cases marijuana should be illegal. I think medical marijuana should be legal. I mean, obviously.
Well, yeah, sure, but based, all marijuana. But I think we can both agree that if you have like a felony conviction, that stunts your ability to earn and provide for your family, right?
Yeah, you knew that before you committed the felony, right?
Yeah, but like I think certain laws. Well, first of all,
you're talking felonies. You're not talking misdemeanors. Felonies are very intense things that you do that cause you to get a felony. It's not just having weed on you.
Nah, not exactly. Not exactly. Because if you're caught with a wax pen, right? That can be considered a felony equivalent to if you had like cocaine or something like that.
Depending on what state you're in.
Yeah,
But
depending on
if
state.
that's the case, but you
Right,
know that before
federally
you,
as well.
you know that before you do it.
Sure.
And so you make the decision. You make the decision. Everybody in here make the decision that they're not going to do that because you don't want a felony on your record because you want to be successful and be able to get a job. Is that fair?
But
that's personal responsibility.
But let's interrogate the central claim. You're saying that police in black communities do more good than harm, right?
Exactly.
So if you're caught smoking a blunt on your porch and you become a felon for the rest of your life, and then you're relegated to like being doing menial labor for the rest of your life, right? When you could have had a lot more prospect, isn't that the police causing more harm to your life?
No, it's just don't smoke weed and you don't have to worry about the police.
So are the laws enforced equally across the races?
It is.
No, they're not.
What's your
They're
proof?
not.
What's your
They're
proof
not.
of that?
So black people in this country, right, are statistically found to have been given larger sentences for the same crimes compared to their white counterparts.
See, let me give you some more information to give you a better perspective. A lot of it is because people have committed multiple crimes before they get to the final crime sentencing. Yes, it is.
Even for first-time offenders.
Give me an example. Where do you see, now here's what, and everybody should acknowledge this, where do you see in this country a judge, this judge gave a white person a different sentence than a black person in that same courtroom?
Statistically, you can still see that minority offenders are given harsher sentences for the same crimes compared to the white counterparts.
And a lot of times it's because they already have previous charges. I'll give you an example of people that's in my family.
Sure.
You know, two people that I know, I'm not going to say what position they're in my family, got 20 years in prison for armed robbery. 25 years in prison for armed robbery. The reason he got 25 years is because he had already committed a robbery. He got 5 years before that. Another one of my cousins got 75 years in prison for shooting 3 people. The reason he got 75 years, and some people didn't get that, because he had already been a prohibited possessor, he was already a convicted felon, and he had drugs in the car. Those contributing factors is what lead many black people who already have a criminal record to being sentenced at a higher rate. You cannot find a judge that gave a black person a higher sentencing than they gave a white person. If you find that judge, I think everybody in here will be against that judge, and I would march and protest a judge that we can find doing that. You won't find it.
All right, we're gonna have to pause here because you've been voted out by the majority. Thank you so much. If you would like to be the next debater, please get to the chair. In 3, 2, 1.
What's up?
What's up, bro?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Good.
Let's have some fun. I want to approach this from a place of curiosity because the thing that troubles me about a lot of the way you structure your arguments is that it seems to suggest to me that you perhaps believe that there's some moral deficit that black people have that inclines us to commit more crimes.
I don't believe that.
I guess my question is, what do you think that moral lack is?
I don't really think I don't think it's a sweeping generalization that every black person somehow is born inherently evil or inherently a criminal. I think that there's different things that do cause people to fall down a path of committing crimes, which is what their fathers did and what their mothers did.
One might say context and systemic racism. Or
I don't think it has. I think it had much to do with racism.
No.
I don't think it has. Like for instance,
Okay,
we can isolate criminal activity that happened in the black community that has no hand or involvement from white people.
Yeah.
You know, a young man deciding to grab a gun and do a shooting has nothing to do with white people. A young man having sex with 5 and 6 women, getting them pregnant, and not standing up for his responsibilities has nothing to do with white people.
See, but when you tell stories like that, it seems to suggest that you're saying that black people are responsible for all of that versus these isolated incidents, these mythical isolated incidents that you're bringing up.
I'm saying it's personal responsibility.
So you're saying
there's no white man there.
There's an epidemic of personal responsibility inside the black community.
I agree with
How
that.
do you measure that?
By looking at the effects of it, looking at what black people are doing over time.
So earlier, people have come up and given you a vast number of statistics that indicate systemic racism, inequality, poverty, education. It's happened over and over again. Yet you claim black people have an epidemic of personal responsibility, but you can't give a single statistic that indicates that. How do you
they have
measure
an
that?
epidemic of personal responsibility. You see the outcomes.
Is it the rap music?
That's one indicator.
Yeah. It's rap music. Let the bodies hit the floor. Who wrote that song?
Let me give you an example of why this is different.
Yeah.
Let me give you an example of why this is different.
Come on. Let's talk about rap.
And I'm gonna tell you how it has a negative effect on black people.
Yeah.
White people actually listen to rap music way more than black people do. They purchase it more.
Mm-hmm.
But black people are living the stuff that's in the music.
Mm-hmm.
White people fantasize of what it may be like to run up on your op and shoot somebody and kill them and go to prison and selling dope in the hood to your own people.
Yeah.
Black people are living it. It's a reality. And it's reinforced. You cannot tell me that that's not a form of brainwashing.
I've listened to a lot of rap music. You know what I've never done? Shot up a school.
What does a school guy do anything?
I think you try to create this image.
This
is what I mean by you seem to suggest that there's a moral lack.
No, you're saying there's no negative.
There's some kind of lack that causes us to be more prone to violence, but you don't acknowledge any of the historical context that places us in the environment.
Are you saying that there's no negative effects of brainwashing yourself about killing your brother and sister and listening to that on a day-to-day basis? There's no negative effect in that.
Right. Why are you posing this as a uniquely black thing?
Because
this is like when you make the argument that like violence has been a part of art all the time. I write for a living. You know who glorifies violence? William Shakespeare. You know who glorifies violence? Quentin Tarantino. But you don't see anyone talking about, oh my God, this is responsible for all the white crime, even though there are more white criminals in America than any other race.
We're talking about black people.
Yeah.
Do you think that black hip-hop music, rap music is detrimental to the black community?
No.
You think it has no effect on the psyche of a young man listening to that every day?
No. Is that simple?
I disagree with you on that point. I think here lies the problem.
How would you validate that? How would you prove that?
Well,
what can be proved is a correlation between poverty and crime, and that can be traced systemically through history. And this goes back to all the arguments we made about wealth accumulation, how black people have been prevented from having that.
Now, how can you associate that to white supremacy?
How can I associate white supremacy and generational poverty? Do you think wealth is inherited?
In part.
Yes, so do you think poverty is inherited?
Majority of people who are successful in this country do not get passed on generational wealth. A lot of people who are very successful came from nothing. I would argue that almost every black person who is successful came from nothing, which is an example of why capitalism works.
Yeah, okay, so I went to one of the most conservative high schools in America. It is a very alluring and deceptive delusion to believe that because you live in circumstances that are different from the rest of black people, that somehow you are special.
What do you mean? You're saying that if you work hard in this country,
this is the way earlier that you suggested,
work hard,
like, oh, here's my example of someone who escaped poverty, and that means that everybody has access to that.
No, I'm not saying not every white person has access to it.
So then you acknowledge that there are forces that operate against black people that are unique to black people. And where do those come from?
I think a lot of it comes from the actions of black people.
They've got personal responsibility that you can't indicate how.
Are you telling me? So, are you a successful man? Consider like
I'm doing my thing. Yeah.
Okay, did you go to school?
I got incredibly.
Are you educated?
I got incredibly.
No. Are you educated?
Yeah.
Okay. What decisions did you have to make to get to the point that you're at?
Okay, we want to talk about education. We want to talk about the difference in funding between schools in black neighborhoods and white neighborhoods.
No,
like if you're
funding. Yeah. I went to probably one of the poor schools in my school district.
Yeah.
That didn't make the difference of whether or not I did my homework or not.
Yeah. This is the thing why I think you're convinced that you're special.
I don't think that inherently because the color of my skin that somehow I'm behind the curve against white people.
Yeah. Harriet Tubman escaped the plantation. A lot of people didn't. Is it the fault of all those black people that couldn't escape?
I don't get your point there.
The point that I'm making is that people live in dire circumstances, and every once in a while someone can break out. And that's not an indication of the system itself.
Black people don't live in a world where every now and again, the majority of black people live in the middle class.
Yes, but a lot more black people live in poverty than any other.
Disproportionate, and a lot of those are because of decision making. When you have children, and you're not married.
This is why I'm saying that I think you think that black people have some unique moral deficit. You're saying that there's an epidemic of personal responsibility in black people, but you can't prove that. And yet we can prove that systemic racism exists.
What you're doing is you're assessing or associating racism.
When does systemic racism stop in America?
I don't think there was real systemic racism.
Ever? Keep going, please keep going. I would love for you to go for the rest of the time on that.
I do not believe that there's been systemic racism in America that's been the primary reason why black people cannot succeed.
Right, but you can't prove that there's an epidemic of personal responsibility. You can prove that there's an epidemic of systemic racism.
No, look.
And that's why I'm asking you when did it stop, because theoretically that should be the
Are you saying that black people are not responsible for the decisions that they make?
I'm saying everyone has agency. Everyone commits crime. Everyone does everything. But people have had to live in different circumstances.
So therefore, if you do the right things like you did, you have an opportunity to be successful, which is equal to just about anybody else, no matter what color you are. You think white people are better than you?
No, but I worry you do.
Why do you think I do? I'm the one that's saying that black people have an opportunity to be better than you.
No, but I worry you do.
Why do you think I do? I'm the one that anybody else, no matter what color you are. You think white people are better than you?
No, but I worry you do.
Why do you think I do? I'm the one that's saying that black people, you have an opportunity to be successful, which is equal to just about anybody else, no matter what color you are. You think white people are better than you?
No, but I worry you do.
Why do you think I do? I'm the one that's saying that black people have an opportunity to be successful in this country just as well as anybody else. You don't believe that. So you think white people are better than you.
Your prompt perhaps could have been, we should do more to prevent crime and poverty in black communities, right? That's a way of framing the argument that's about solutions.
You can frame or whatever you want. You are focusing on, we're talking about black people.
I'm focusing on language because words are important.
We're talking about black people and you're focusing on what white people are doing. So who harm black people more than other black people?
How many people who brought us over here on boats?
Gentlemen, the time's up now. All right, thank you.
I appreciate you.
Nicotine, the ultimate biohacker's secret weapon, has made a wild comeback. But why is that so knickknack? This authentic, available, raise the standard. Go to knickknacks near you. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is...
Hello guys, that's my ugly fiance. No, I'm just playing. I'm just playing.
I'm sorry. If you'd like to be the next...
My next round of claim is that black people hurt black people more than any other group.
If you'd like to be the next debater, get to the chair in 3, 2, 1.
What's up, brother? How you doing?
Where's Zena, guys? Oh, she's about to come up. I'm skipping this guy. I'm gonna get to Zena Wiener. Zena Wiener don't want to debate me, man. Bro, that's her name, bro. She debated Jordan Peterson. She don't want to debate me, dog. So.
2, 1.
How are you?
Good, I'm Zena. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
Okay, so black people hurt black people more than anyone else hurts black people.
Okay.
My question to you is why?
Well, that's a really good question. I think that it stimulates from a few different facets, and I think a lot of them are responsible, but for the most part, by black people. When you are not raised in a loving household and you're not protected, you don't have a father in the household, those things lead to devastating outcomes. Young men doing things they're not supposed to do, like we see in modern society, these young YNs. All of these things are contributing factors to decisions that we make.
Okay, cool. So what you're describing is a byproduct of poverty, right? And what we know under a capitalist system is that poverty compounds over time in history as well as wealth. And what has happened systematically as well as systemically in the system is that black people have been pushed away from wealth-creating mechanisms. This has happened for generations, even past slavery. Even if we were to argue that after slavery, nothing else happened. There was no Jim Crow laws. There's no redlining. There's no unequal implementation of the GI Bill. We would still see that, like, our country has lived under this disenfranchisement of Black people longer than it has been free. So my question is, what do you think accounts for like the $4 to $16 trillion that was stolen from Black people through slavery? Like, where is that equalizing mechanism?
I don't believe that you can say that money was stolen from Black people during slavery.
Oh, but
let me explain. Because money wasn't stolen, opportunities were not there because Black people were slaves. It's not a fair comparison.
So imagine
now,
this: you got 200 people on a plantation, and they're making you millions and millions of dollars, right, a year through their labor, right? So what happens is there's no money to steal because Black people weren't granted the humanity
well, you're
to be
saying
compensated
black
for the value
people,
that they created.
well, let's look at it like this. This is an environment and a dispensation of time where slavery was a fact and reality around the world.
And we live under capitalism,
so
right?
let me explain. So it's not like it was somehow uniquely.
Oh, it was very
it's
unique to
not
the West.
uniquely in the United States of America.
Chattel slavery?
Majority of the slaves
Do you want to
were in
compare
South
chattel
America.
slavery?
Let me just give you an example. Majority of the slaves were in South America. You do agree to that. About 400,000 Black people
Do you
were
want to
made
focus on
slaves
America,
over
though?
time.
Why are we pivoting the conversation? My
We're not
question was
pivoting anything. You jumping
what?
around.
No.
Let's stick to
I had a
something
question.
we
Do you
can
remember
have.
the question I asked you around 2 minutes ago? I asked you this.
I feel like you want to be confrontational more than you want to get to the bottom of the conversation. You're saying
it's unfortunate that that's the way that you feel about how I'm trying to approach a question.
We need to stick to a
What's
point.
the
Are you saying
equalizing mechanism? $4 to $16 trillion, right, was the revenue that was created through the unpaid labor that came from chattel slavery.
In my opinion, you cannot judge slavery and act as if Black people even had a fair chance in the first place.
That's what I'm talking about here.
Let me explain. We need to talk in terms of after slavery was abolished, what opportunities were presented
If we
to
do
Black
that, we
people.
cut out around 2/3 of the story, right? So what I told you before, right? We live under capitalism, and if we live under capitalism, what we know is a couple things. Wealth comes from capital, and capital compounds, right, value. So what happens is property taxes.
Are you trying to say that inevitably Black people will never have an opportunity to be successful in America? Is that
I'm
what you're saying?
explaining something really, really crucial here.
I mean,
that'll
can you
help
answer that?
your
Because
point.
I think we'll be on the same
You can't interrupt me
platform.
when we're not having the same conversation.
I'm trying to get to a point where we can have a real discussion.
If it is the case that property taxes, right, fund our school systems, build them up, okay, and we see redlining literally labeled neighborhoods where Black people were living as inharmonious, full of inharmonious racial groups to the point where they couldn't get the mortgage, right? This was what, 60 years ago? Grandparents, parents, right, who experienced that inability to have a home. 2/3 of the middle class gets their generational wealth from properties. Where's this equalizing mechanism? Why do you expect there to be a similar playing field?
Okay, I think we're going to go in circles if we go back in time. What mechanism?
Oh, we got to.
I'm saying that we're going to get to a standstill. What mechanisms are in place today that prevent you from having the same financial success as anybody else in this country?
Does inheritance exist under capitalism?
I'm asking you to answer this question.
Because I've asked two questions now that were ignored.
What mechanism in place currently prevents you from being financially successful as anybody else in this country?
The continuity of private property, right? So I'm
Are you
answering the
not
question.
allowed to own property?
That's not the question here. It's who had access to property.
No, we
Problem
know. Let's put it this way, because we're going to get into an argument in circles.
I don't think it's going in circles. I think you're not answering the question.
Here's the thing that we can agree on.
I asked 2 questions.
Let me say, here's the thing that we can agree on. We can agree that there was discrimination in this country. We can agree that there's some elements of.
Do you agree that inheritance exists?
We can agree that there's elements of things that happen in this country that put Black people behind. We can agree to that.
Okay.
But what I'm telling you is that we cannot still live 60 years ago and act as if we don't have an opportunity today.
Here, let me.
We could break down redlining. We can go through the process of all these different things.
Let me address it.
Because I don't think that we're telling a full story about redlining. I don't think we're telling a full story about economic opportunity for Black people in America today.
I think you're right. So white families, on average, have a 10 times higher median household income than Black people.
Why is that?
And that's what I want to answer for you.
Let me answer it.
No. You asked me a question. Why are you answering the question that you asked to me?
You just let me answer the question for you.
No, I don't want you to answer it for me because I want to answer. I want to participate in it back and forth.
Okay, come on.
The reason is because wealth in this country is passed down. The biggest, in 2020, they projected that $765 billion, right, was passed down through gifts and bequests to the American population, right, the middle class, and that's just the middle class. That is the majority way that wealth funnels down in this country.
Are you saying that Black people are not currently able to have financial success in this country just like white people?
I'm saying that we're comparing a tortoise to a hare right now. So
I don't think that's true.
I think it's
are you
absolutely
alluding
true.
to the fact? Let's talk about redlining real quick, because I think that it's been disproportionately represented. When you talk about redlining, do you know? And I think it's good for the crowd to understand this, that in the red line districts, 92% of all the people who live in the red line districts were white. Are you aware of that?
Where is this source coming from? Redlining specifically labeled.
Do you not know this as a fact?
Okay, how about this? The underwritings of the HOLC specifically said that Black groups, right, were seen as inharmonious groups that we should be very wary. No. Let's look it up. The fact check will be somewhere here or here for you. Right? It said
that's what the
inharmonious groups. Black people were titled as FHA. Okay, they both work together.
No, they did not work together. They were different.
No, they were different, but they worked together.
Guys, you have to pause. You've been voted out. Thank you. If you would like to be the next debater, get to that chair in 3, 2, 1.
Peace, brother.
What's up, brother?
So we were talking about black on black crime.
Yeah, we can address that.
Black on black crime is a myth. Human beings create crime based off where they're at. In the 90s, there was opioid epidemic, specifically Oxycontin. This was white drug dealers selling this medicine to white fiends.
Okay.
Over 80,000 people in the year 2023, according to the CDC, overdosed from opioids. that same year, 31,000 people overdosed from cocaine. Now, a portion of those cocaine users were likely black people who were on crack. However, more than twice as many people overdosed on opioids that were white drug dealers selling to white fiends. However, in no instance did anyone come up, a policymaker, and say that this opioid crisis was white on white crime. However, when black people engage in crime based off where they're at, the government uses it as an excuse to overcriminalize them in a way that white communities are not criminalized at all.
I disagree with you because I don't think that anybody's saying black on black crime necessitates a police response. People point out that black people disproportionately, or I say to a higher degree per capita, kill each other more than any other group.
It's not accurate.
That is 100% accurate. That is 100% accurate. Anybody can fact check that. We kill each other at a higher rate per capita than any other group. That is a fact. Now, the reason that people point this out is because others try to claim that the biggest threat to our existence, the biggest threat to our young people are white people, or systemic racism. But the reality is the cause of death, the leading cause of death for young people 25 and under, from 15 to 25, is being murdered by another black man. Then you go on beyond that, and the leading cause of death is what? Health issues, heart disease, so the biggest, diabetes, and other, it has nothing to do with white people.
Okay, cool. So the biggest threat to black people and the biggest threat to the world is the system of racism and white supremacy that we live in. Because the system of racism, white supremacy...
Give me an example how the system is directly affecting you.
Exactly. The system of racism, white supremacy affects every faction of interaction.
Give me an example.
I'll give you them. We're talking economic, social, and sports. So these black drug dealers that you're mad at. For example, Freddie Gray. Freddie Gray was a petty black drug dealer.
He still was selling drugs.
Yes, he was selling drugs.
Who was he selling drugs to?
He was selling drugs to black people.
Okay.
But no petty white drug dealer has ever been thrown in the back of a paddy wagon and ended up dead.
That's not true. They just didn't get publicity.
Only petty black drug dealers are criminalized for selling drugs. That's because we live in a system
you want to go to Freddie Gray?
Racism, white supremacy,
who was the judge? Who was the judge?
Over-criminalizes the actions of black people and overlooks petty white crime.
Who was the prosecutor and judge that allowed those police officers to get off in that crime? It was a black judge and a black prosecutor.
Also, in 2018, there were multiple officers in Baltimore who were found guilty of planting drugs and weapons on black people and arresting them. That is an example of racism, white supremacy being used to weaponize crime and criminalize black people. You've never heard an instance in which petty white drug dealers have had drugs and weapons planted on them that has led to their arrest.
Have you ever been a police officer?
God,
have you
no.
ever arrested anybody?
God, no.
Well, let me break this down. The things that you're saying are focused on what's happening in the black community. You don't know what's happening in the white community.
I know exactly. I just told you they're fiended out. I told you there's an opioid crisis. White street drug dealers are selling fentanyl and Oxycontin and opioids to white fiends. But it's cool and it's not overcriminalized.
Cool to who?
It's cool to
it's
cool to the government. It's cool to the people it's cool to the people that write the laws. The people that write the laws, the government and the politicians are not overcriminalizing this behavior. They're not chasing the white dope dealer, the white petty drug dealer. They're not chasing him around and throwing him into the back of a back of a paddy wagon. The same way that Freddie Gray got thrown into the back of a paddy wagon.
What makes you think that they're not chasing criminals?
Timothy, please let Officer Tim speak and address what you're concerned about.
You said a lot of things. If you're saying that there's no instances where white people are getting arrested for criminal activity, or you're saying that they're not thrown in the back of the paddy wagon and dying.
The same way as black people.
No, that's not true.
What I'm saying is these white drug dealers are not policed and criminalized and put on TV and looked at as criminals and drug dealers in the same way that petty black drug dealers like Freddie Gray are criminalized and thrown in the back of the paddy wagon.
Let me respond to you.
I have to pause it here. He's been voted out by the majority. If you would like to be the next debater, please get to the chair.
We going back to, next is Naima, and then we're gonna go to Zena again. Probably watch the last debate, wrap up.
In 3, 2, 1.
Back again. Okay, so thank you for clarifying the prompt for us, because I was a little confused reading it, because white people hurt white people around the same rates. But I guess my question is starting when and how are you quantifying harm?
Okay, that's a great question. I think that we can go all the way back to the beginning if you want to in slavery. When the slave trade was proliferated, black people enslaved each other.
Where?
In Africa. Black people enslaved other blacks in Africa and sold them all over the world. That, to me, that's an incredible harm of black people inflicted on other blacks and perpetuated across the world. Then you have slavery now perpetuated in South America. You have it in the United States of America. That is initial harm. Okay. I would argue that the point in time of slavery in America as we know it, I believe that white people hurt black people more than black people did.
Yes.
Now we go post-slavery.
Okay.
I believe that black people began to take the torch and destroy themselves or destroy other blacks more than any other group in America.
Okay, so let's start post-slavery. I'm gonna ignore the thing about black people selling black people
Is
in
that not
Africa.
true?
Well, do you know how many black people were sold as slaves to each other in Africa?
Well, millions were sold in the slave trade around the world.
Are you talking about the transatlantic slave trade or before the transatlantic trade?
Transatlantic slave trade.
Okay, yeah, but that was by white people again.
What you mean it was by white people? I'm saying that black people enslaved other blacks and sold them to white people.
They were primarily kidnapped by the Portuguese.
There was not
The main-
primary
yes,
kidnapping.
the
It was
main
actually a
method.
legal slave trade that existed.
Yes, I
and
mean-
millions of transactions between
The
Africans.
legal slave trade that existed before the transatlantic slave trade was mainly based on when a tribe conquered another tribe, they were prisoners
Still
of
enslaved.
war, which is still enslaved, but it's different from the transatlantic slave trade when we're talking about black people hurting black people versus white people hurting black people, right? But I wanted to go focus on your claim about
Post-slavery.
Post-slavery, yes. So the primary, I guess, what do you think black people were doing post-slavery?
Well, you know, I think there's a period of time where there was an explosion of black excellence.
Yes, Reconstruction.
After slavery was abolished.
Right.
You know, we have black people fighting in the military, black people owning their own companies,
Yes.
building wealth. We have Black Wall Street.
Okay.
We have, you go on, so on and so forth.
Right.
And I believe that as black people begin to support Marxist theology, Martin Luther King and others put us in a path
Okay.
where
Let's
we
pause.
rely on the government more than our own resilience.
Okay.
And you cannot tell me that that's not true.
So let's pause because we just skipped like a good 30 years of history. We just skipped like 3
I'm
decades
giving
of
you a
history.
summation from the 30s to the
Okay, yeah.
60s.
So we did Reconstruction, and Reconstruction was ended, right? Because the South took back. At the time, we had Northerners in the South who were running the South so that the Union could stay together. Once the North left the South, Reconstruction ends, and that's when we see black people start to decline. It wasn't Karl Marx. Karl Marx didn't come in and
I said
say
Marxist theology. I didn't say
But
Karl Marx.
It wasn't Marxist theology. I mean, we're just ignoring the history of sharecropping. That's ignoring the history of Jim Crow, right? You think that Karl Marx was worse for the black community than Jim Crow segregation?
Let me argue this point. Capitalism has rescued and made successful so many people of different backgrounds and demographics. That's why America is so great. What I'm saying is that black people being resilient, operating through capitalism, and believing in themselves and being self-sustainable was the best path for blacks, and they were successful in that. When they begin to rely on the government, begin to rely on handouts, begin to listen to foolish things that people like Martin Luther King said, it caused us to be more dependent on the government, less dependent on ourselves, and now you see decline in multifaceted areas.
Okay,
Consistent, let me say,
but
I'm gonna let you speak, I'm gonna let you speak.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is that when you look at other groups, minority groups, they did not fall for that. You look at the Jewish population, look at immigrants that came over here, they were self-sustainable, they worked within their community, they built wealth, generational wealth amongst each other. They did not farm out their existence to the government.
Can I speak now, please? Thank
Go
you.
ahead.
So the other immigrant groups that you're talking about, first of all, were not subject to Jim Crow segregation laws. But do you? I just want you to answer.
Jews were subject
I just
to
want
Jim
you
Crow
to
laws.
answer this question, yes or no.
Okay.
Do you think that Karl Marx hurt the black community and his ideology hurt the black community more than Jim Crow segregation?
I have to think that through. Jim Crow segregation.
What is there to think about?
Because you're
By the way,
acting.
Karl Marx is
you're-
white, so
listen,
that would still be a white person hurting the black community. Just saying.
But then Martin Luther King embraced his theology.
Okay, but so-
which is a black man leading the black community off a cliff. Now let me just say this.
So you think
I'm
that- wait,
saying
so
that every
Carl,
black
then let
person
me
was
ask
not
you that
subject.
question.
Every black person was not subject to Jim Crow laws. Every black person did not live in the South. There was a lot of successful black people during that time period. I mean, I would
Yes,
give you
we
an
have the
example.
Harlem Renaissance, of
I'm
course.
gonna give you an
We have
example of black people
Northerners.
who were incredibly successful through what? Capitalism. We see Madam C.J. Walker, the first female millionaire out of any race, very successful in the late 1800s, late 1800s,
Okay,
early
but that's
1900s.
one
That's not
person.
just one.
That is
we have
one
we have a
person.
tremendous amount of success.
My friend, it feels
George
like you're
Washington
forgetting.
Carver. We have.
I let you talk for a long time.
okay.
I would like my turn to speak.
I
I feel
will.
like we're completely jumping over history. We go from slavery to Martin Luther King, then all the way back. We ignore the history of sharecropping, right? We've completely glossed over sharecropping. We've completely glossed over Jim Crow laws and how much wealth was stolen from the black community. We've completely glossed over the Tulsa race riots. And when black people did succeed under capitalism, those communities were destroyed. We've completely glossed over eminent domain and how much of the black community was taken, like literal black.
Let's talk about.
Like what about Seneca Village?
Let's talk
Like, what
about
any
Black
of
Wall
these
Street.
communities?
Let's talk about Black Wall Street. Are we on the same page of what happened in the Tulsa riots? Tulsa race war?
It depends. What do you think happened?
Well, I know what happened. There was a conflict between black and white people. There was a fight between the two. White people got the best of black people in Tulsa.
Then no, we are not on the same page.
Well,
no.
let me finish, and you tell me where I'm wrong. In that fight, there was a lot of black businesses destroyed in Tulsa, Oklahoma. They rebuilt, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years later, and they begin to continue to succeed. Is that not factual?
No.
What's the truth? What happened then?
I mean, the truth is that a community of successful black people who were succeeding under capitalism were directly targeted because
They were not
of
directly
that
targeted. It was a
success.
conflict.
Yes.
It was a conflict between
No.
a black man, I believe it was a black man.
It started when
and
a
white.
black man was accused of lynching,
No,
or not
it
lynching,
was
was
not
accused of
lynching.
raping a woman, and then because of that, there was this
The
anger and a
inappropriate
mob
behavior
started.
inappropriate behavior with a woman. There was a conflict that occurred. The first shots rang out from black people, shooting and killing several white people. And
So
then,
how many black people were killed in total?
Oh, I don't know how many black people killed in total. I just know black people fired
Well,
the
I
first
do.
shot.
Can I tell you?
Well,
It was
okay.
300.
How many
and
white
that's
people were killed?
like a low
How many white
estimate.
people were killed?
Not as many, because it was a riot
Because
against
what
the
happened
black
was
community.
white people came up into Tulsa, Oklahoma. It became a
Can I ask
violent
you a question?
confrontation, and white people overran the black people in that
Can I
confrontation.
ask you, because it kind of feels like you're defending the race rioters.
I'm not defending any race riots. I'm saying
It
it's
does.
a conflict that happened.
Can
You're
you
saying
acknowledge
that
that
it's
this is
targeted.
one example in
You're
which
saying-
white people hurt black
No,
people
no,
unjustly?
you're saying.
Can you just say this is one?
What you're trying to say is that black people are doing their own thing, and a bunch of white people just came up and destroyed all their property just because.
Yes.
That wasn't what happened.
That
It was a
wasn't what-
conflict.
so,
It was a
okay.
conflict that occurred that caused that to happen.
But you know the KKK existed, right?
They did.
Yes,
In
white
the South.
supremacy exists, and that was in
In
the
the
South. Where's
South.
Oklahoma?
I didn't say that white supremacy don't exist. We're not arguing
Yes,
that.
that was the point, though.
I'm not arguing that the Ku Klux Klan didn't have a negative effect on the black community. We're not arguing that.
But that's what we are arguing. The whole point of this prompt is that black people hurt the black community more than white people.
So,
and these are some examples
okay.
of white people hurting the black community. And every time I give you one, you say no.
Let's give
that
an
didn't happen.
example of some things that are elements in the black community that I think that we can agree on.
Okay.
The single parent household situation with
Right.
young black men born out of, young black men born and women are born to parents who are not married.
Okay, guys, please don't raise the flags on me. I have to make one point, and then I'll get it, okay? So, to the single parent house, I think that's a great example, right? Because I think we can all agree we want black families to stay together. What is the leading cause of the separation of black families?
I think it's a degradation of values in the black community.
Would you say that the criminalization, black men disproportionately going to jail more, has an effect on the separation of the black households?
I would agree to that, but I would
Yes.
also say that is because of the choices and decisions that these young black men are making.
Perfect, thank you. I was hoping you would say that. So,
Is that not true? You don't go to
well,
jail.
hold on,
you
hold
go
on,
to jail for
pause,
selling
pause, pause,
drugs.
pause. Okay, you go to jail for selling drugs. Can I read you a quote from Nixon's domestic policy chief, John Ehrlichman? This is at the start of the war on drugs, which we know is what led to a lot of mass incarceration of the black community, a significant increase in black men imprisoned and incarcerated for drug possession and selling. We knew we couldn't make it illegal to be either against the Vietnam War or black, but by getting the public to associate the hippies with marijuana and blacks with heroin, and then criminalizing both heavily, we could disrupt those communities.
I'm not familiar with that quote.
Oh, really?
But
Shocking.
I can go and read it later, but that's still
You
not
should
getting,
really
it's
read it
not-
later.
That's not getting to the point of saying that people are incarcerated because decisions that they make to commit crimes. Is that not true?
Well, yes, that's
The
how
reason that
criminal
none of us,
justice-
the reason that
do
none
you
of
want
us,
to respond to
the reason
what
that
he
none of
just
us,
said?
the reason that none of us are selling dope, why? Because we don't want to go to prison. We value our lives. If you are going to sell drugs and you're going to kill people and you're going to commit robbery, you're going to go to jail.
Yes,
you
yes.
can't blame all of that
Are you-
on
can you-
the war on crime or whatever the case
But the
may be.
war on crime was specifically to get
No, it
black
was-
men to go
it
to
is
jail.
nothing wrong.
They literally
It is
admitted
nothing wrong with imposing laws that help our community. You act
How
like,
does that help
let me,
our
Let me
community?
explain. You act like it's a good thing for black people to be selling drugs in our community. It is not. So when you go to jail for selling drugs, in my opinion, and I think the opinion of anybody that's rational, that is a benefit to the black community
Diva,
by
in
getting
this quote, he
drug dealers,
literally says-
criminals off the street. And our communities to be able to thrive, our property value to be able to go up. These people need to go to jail.
Dude,
That's not a
okay,
negative.
okay, I hear you, thank you. But literally, the domestic policy chief is saying we could disrupt those communities. He is openly admitting. No,
You're saying
I let you
disrupt-
talk a lot. I need you to let
I
me
need you to
speak.
clarify
No,
this.
no, no.
Disrupt these communities in what way? What is he saying? Disrupt the communities.
By
What
heavily
is the end goal?
criminalizing
To what go? To what end?
to hurt black people.
So it hurt black people to get criminals off the street.
Officer Tatum,
No,
we have
he's
to pause here. You
intentionally
guys have
disrupting
gone
the black
over.
community.
So thank you both so much.
Listen, guys, I never even heard that quote. I got to check it out. I would have asked her to explain a tad bit more instead of him like going off, But yeah, I actually wanted to hear more what she was talking about and why she brought up that quote. Good stuff by Naima. Good stuff. Hold on. Okay, systemic racism is used as an excuse to avoid personal responsibility.
But you have been voted out with majority. Well done. 3, 2, 1.
Hi again.
You back.
I am. So I do want to isolate this cause, you think, of black disenfranchisement just over the course of history, because the thing I keep hearing you say is culture, right? But in psychology, we have this debate between nature and nurture, all right?
Sure.
Every decision, the patterns that come from different populations can be caused by either one of two things. It's like your material conditions, okay, this is the culture you're talking about. This is like attitudes, okay, and behavioral patterns. Or it's like genetically, in some way, you are different from other populations. Like you naturally have less of an inclination towards success. So for black people, I have to ask you, which one is it?
No, I definitely don't think black people have a less inclination towards success because of some DNA makeup.
Perfect.
Black people do have a DNA, I guess, expression that makes them a lot more proficient in sports. I mean, that's an advantage. But when you're talking about, like, your point is very broad. Systemic racism, does it affect you today, and does it affect your life moving forward? I do not believe so.
If you believe that nurture, right, is the cause, right, of Black people acting differently, it's not something biological here. You have to ask, okay, when it comes to culture,
it can be in part biological.
Biologically,
generational trauma could be biological.
But that comes from, like, again, social standards, okay, issues that are replicated from the material conditions. When I say material conditions, I'm talking about what is around you, what is the infrastructure of your life, okay, what systems are you born into, okay. So if we can recognize that, right, is where the cause is lying. My question to you is going to be, again, where has this equalizer been, right, in the whole status quo between white folks and Black folks?
Let's put it this way. I'm hoping that we can get to a conclusion of understanding, because you keep saying Black people as if we uniquely are the only people who are dealing with certain issues and poverty. White poor people experience a lot of similar things as Black people.
But not segregation and not redlining.
It's not.
Right?
But when you say redlining, when I just told you when you look at the historicity of redlining, majority of the people who were in the red line district were white.
I can't wait for the fact check for this one.
92%.
I'm going to be so
I'm gonna
honest
tell you
with
right
you.
now.
No, Black.
Redlining harmed Black communities most systemically, but some Jews, immigrants, and other ethnic neighborhoods were also downgraded by federal appraisers and local real estate professionals who describe certain populations as inharmonious, undesirable. I didn't notice that some of these redlining policies went to the Jewish immigrants, ethnic groups, probably like Irish.
Listen to me. Let me explain it. No, it was not explicitly a factor.
Oh, it was, and I can't wait for the fact check to show that part too.
I hope they do. When you're talking about the creation of the red line from the HOLC corporation, there's a lot of things in my mind. When you look at the
Even when some red line neighborhoods were majority white, the broader housing finance system still used race and ethnicity to restrict access to credit and investment, with Black neighborhoods facing the most pervasive and categorical exclusion.
HOLC corporation. There's a lot of things in my mind. When you look at the delineation line, when they drew the red line, that was after discrimination had already existed.
And what did the red lines do?
The red lines were more of a revelation of what was happening, more so than a demarcation that created it, because they had already been there. None because you haven't looked it up. That's why. That's why you haven't looked it up. You didn't do enough. So some of these discriminatory practices by lenders occurred way before there was a red line. The negative effects of redlining affected white people and Black people.
How about this?
Disproportionately affecting Black people.
How about this? Let's get back to the cause of Black individuals' strife in America. Okay? I want you to isolate again, for me, if it's not biological, where is this culture coming from? How does it happen?
It's like, for instance, when you look at Black culture, 30s, 40s, 50s, it's very different than today. There was no gangster hip hop music. That was talking about killing and thugging and smashing every day. That didn't exist. Black families were intact at a higher rate. Black entrepreneurship was up. Education was prioritized in the Black community. We began to see that degrade over time. So it's impossible almost to say slavery caused Black people to be here. We're not accounting for the explosion of success here in the Black community. And I'm saying that the degrading of culture, people falling away from God, not marrying the people they have children with, all of those contributing factors that are perpetuated by Black people has caused a lot of the problems that we see
When
today.
we talk about things like rap music, okay, when we talk about the hip hop and whatever, what is being talked about in these songs? It's obviously shootings, okay? It's like life experiences are what are being discussed, okay? And when we look at those life experiences, they're much more so being concentrated in Black areas, and that was true in the 30s and 40s and 50s.
No, hold on. It was nowhere near the concentration.
I would love to see the statistics.
Was there Bloods and Crips in the 30s?
I want to get like 3 sentences out.
Go ahead.
That's important in this debate. Okay, so once again, 30s, 40s, 50s, there was segregation. Again, we all know this.
But Black people still persevered through.
And that wasn't even one sentence I got out. You recognize that?
We got the time.
We got time going down. And for us to be on the same page, we have to understand the same kind of history. So I didn't get any, there was no statistic or there's no kind of facts about the wealth in the 30s, 40s, 50s that you gave me, hold on, right? What I'm trying to tell you, right, is that this disparity has existed even in those times you're talking about, where there wasn't any, expressions of culture that had to do with music. There was still disenfranchisement. There was still a lack of resources. HBCUs were still underfunded in those time periods. And we saw that Black people, for the most part, did not have home equity, which is the greatest way that you can essentially create generational wealth. That was all true.
But yes, some of what you're saying is true, but I don't think it's the end all be all in success of Black people today. Like, for instance, all of the things that you're referring to, hundreds of years ago, 60 years ago, I'm asking you right now, do those things that happened then have a profound negative effect on black people in perpetuity.
Of course, and I'll tell you
I
why.
have to stop here. The clock has run out.
That's why.
I'm so sorry. Thank you, guys. In the final debate, Officer Tatum gets 10 minutes uninterrupted. There's been a lot of conversations here today. Officer Tatum, it's up to you now to choose. Look around, think carefully. Who would you like to continue the conversation with?
Dang it, that's a hard one. It's hard. It's hard to pick. I think I had a few that I would like to finish.
They all got a lot of energy. They all want to talk.
I want the gentleman in the green shirt.
All right. Do you have a claim?
Yes, I do.
All right.
All right, good to see you again.
Yes.
So, Officer Tatum, why have you chosen Travanti?
Well, because I think he's acting in good faith. Seemed like an educated guy. We had a spirited debate, and I felt like it was fair. And so I had plenty of people I would like to finish the conversation with, but I think this would be the best one.
My surrounded claim is black people do not support Democrats because of welfare.
Well, hey, I think we
Black people do not support.
acting in good faith. Seemed like an educated guy. We had a spirited debate, and I felt like it was fair. And so I had plenty of people I would like to finish the conversation with, but I think this would be the best one.
My surrounded claim is black people do not support Democrats because of welfare.
Black people do not support Democrats because of welfare. What? What is he trying to say? Black people do not support Democrats because of welfare? What is this nigga talking about?
Well, hey, I think we agree on that in part. I don't think black people supported the Democrat Party is just because of welfare. I think it's because of manipulation. You have not seen a single group of people disproportionately voting for one party in almost the history of this country like black people have, which I think is a shame, and it's the reason why the black community is devastated the way it is. Because when you sell your soul to one party, they don't have to do anything for you, and they haven't done anything for black people. And then once you sell to one side, the other side don't have a vested interest in doing anything to support you because they'll never get your support anyway. I would argue, and my whole premise with this is I'm hopeful that black people will begin to consider their own self-interest when they vote outside of party line.
So I would like to say it is not a shame. It actually proves that black people are smarter than conservatives give them credit for. Because the fact of the matter is black people, well, let me ask you this. What year did blacks begin voting en masse for the Democratic Party? Do you know?
It began in the 30s and 40s.
You're right. Okay, so it began in 1930.
Began, not as prolific as it is today, but it began there.
So originally, African Americans voted for the Republican Party squarely because of the legislative efforts of Abraham Lincoln and the radical Republicans in Congress. They continued to vote for them right up until the New Deal. The reason why things shifted is because after the radical Republicans left Congress, the Republican Party stepped back and allowed the Confederacy to make a comeback in the form of the Ku Klux Klan.
The Ku Klux Klan was a Democrat military arm of the Democrat Party. No, you got to be very clear.
I'll be clear.
That there was the Democrats.
I will be clear.
Against Republicans.
The federal government allowed the Ku Klux Klan to stop black people from voting.
Democrats.
Stop them from owning homes. Stop them from social mobility that was upwards.
Democrat government.
No. It was Republicans too.
No, it was not. It was not Republicans.
Listen. There was a spate of Republican presidencies after Lincoln was assassinated, okay? And guess what? That was when the Klan became stronger and stronger and stronger. And so the talking point that they would always repeat is, we freed you, now pull yourself up by your bootstraps. But what they didn't realize is that you cannot pull yourself up by your bootstraps when you are being terrorized through racial violence by the Ku Klux Klan.
Democrat Party.
And so guess what? One of the things that...
Why don't you acknowledge that it was the Democrat Party?
One of the things that Martin Luther King advocated for was the federal government stepping in, and he wrote about this in Striving Toward Freedom.
What's his problem?
He said that they needed to intervene in local situations because local governments were not protecting blacks from racial violence. No.
Democrats.
Now,
let me say, the Republican Party was established to combat the Democrat Party from their proliferation of racism, slavery.
No.
100%.
Slavery, yes.
Slavery, yes.
No, but not racism.
Later, racism and discrimination against blacks. The Ku Klux Klan was established as a military arm of the Democrat Party.
No.
Democrats did not unanimously vote for the right for blacks to be free, to have citizenship, and to vote. The Democrats did not. Republicans unanimously voted for that. Am I right or am I wrong?
You're talking about.
You answer that?
You're talking about the 1860s. After that,
they
did nothing.
The Republican Party.
They did absolutely nothing.
Now,
let me give you this.
Blacks.
So, during.
Well, why don't you address that?
What part?
That the Republican Party unanimously voted
during the 1860s,
and the Republican Party unanimously voted for the Civil Rights Act.
After
the Civil Rights Act, unanimous by Republicans, not Democrats.
Yeah, because of the efforts of LBJ.
Okay, we have 5 minutes. What has Democrats done for black people
I
in
will
America?
tell you.
Give me policy and give me a reason why
I will tell you.
a person like me would vote for the Democrats at the current state that they're in now.
Right, I'll give you
gotta
two.
explain. We can't do a whole
I know.
theological
I will
thing.
give you
I need you to
two.
answer that. I got 5
will
minutes.
give you two.
4 now.
So number one was underneath Roosevelt. The number.
We can't go through this.
No.
Give me the policy position now that I should go for.
Guess what?
We're going to do a whole history lesson.
No,
we run out of
underneath
time.
Donald Trump placed 3 Supreme Court justices on the Supreme Court, and they overturned affirmative action in terms of schools. That was created
because it's not necessary for us to continue in affirmative action.
It is 100% necessary.
This is what holds black people down.
No,
we have
that's not true.
We have the opportunity
That's not true.
to work and do things on our own merit.
That is
we
not
do not
true.
need
I'm going to tell you
discrimination
something. I'm going to tell you
for
something.
us to be successful
That's
in this
not
country.
discrimination.
We are starting to now
that is
discriminate
reversing
against
discrimination.
others.
No, we're
we
not.
are starting to discriminate
then
against
why is there such an enormous wealth disparity if
why
other
is there a
people are
wealth
being
disparity
discriminated
between?
against?
Why is there a wealth disparity between Asians and whites?
What do you in
White
where?
people, Asian people make tremendous amount more money than white people on average.
Because of the
And also
relationship that
Indian
the
people.
United States has
And why
with
do black
China.
people? But why do black people, immigrants who come over here, are more educated? They have less crime. All of these statistical data points that immigrants who come over here do better, black immigrants, than black citizens here.
They don't have the history of oppression in this country that we have.
But what does that tell you? That tell you
It
that
tells
at this
you that
point,
the thing that is most offensive to white liberals, to white conservatives, is the descendants of those slaves, foundational black Americans, whatever you kind, actually experiencing social mobility.
But let me explain this to you. This is my point being proven. It's not about color, it's about decisions.
No,
because
it is
a black
about color when it
person-
comes to
a
black people in
person-
America.
No, a black person can come over here from a foreign country
No,
and be very
that's
successful
not true.
and race that are higher than
That's
black
not true.
citizens.
Those
That is
differences are
facts.
wildly exaggerated.
It's not wildly exaggerated, it is
Yes,
a fact.
they are.
Because there's no policy in
That
place
is not
right now
true.
that will stop you from doing anything that white people can
You
do.
know, what do
Name
you
one.
actually believe that systemic
Name one.
racism is?
You're saying there's systems in place, or there's a continuation of either systems, policies that are in place that are disenfranchising black people. Name one of them.
So let me explain.
Name one. We got to make it quick. Name
We've
one.
already named a number. We've named
What policy
affirmative
stopped you
action.
from being successful?
I haven't been stopped from being successful.
Why?
Well, if you look at the data,
Hold on, let me stop you real quick. We'll get to that.
Right.
No, I just want to do a quick poll. Raise your hand if there's white supremacy have stopped you from being successful in America.
Second and third generation
No, I'm talking about right now.
Yes, keep it personal.
Some of you can see, others cannot. I have a scar on my knee, on my leg. I was impacted by the healthcare system not supporting black women when my leg was broke in 2 places. I was on blood thinners. I couldn't have Tylenol because I'm allergic to Tylenol, couldn't have Advil. They wanted to give me opiums, and I refused. I told them I did not want that. I told them I struggle with morphine. Do you have anything else to please provide me? And they refused. They only gave me the opiates. And they told me that I had to just go with whatever. Only to hear from a black doctor 2 weeks later that I could have just had a muscle relaxer. Those doctors actively chose not to do their research to find a better way for me to go through less pain. They decided they wanted me to experience pain from a broken leg. You wanted me to raw dog all that pain on nothing.
Okay, so I used to work as an assistant manager at the mall, and I had a white manager, right? There was a huge discrepancy in the count of sales of the hats inside the store, and because I was, for whatever reason, right, the target, they hired trained law enforcement to come and interrogate me under the pretense of first, like, hey, like, how are you doing? Like, how's your money troubles? How's this? How's that? Just to essentially lock me into a story where I was committing this retail fraud, right? They had at least 40 hours of store footage of me working my shifts where there wasn't a single instance of me stealing anything. But because I'm the only dark-skinned black person working in the store, they had someone try to come and frame me for a crime, essentially.
I'm currently getting my MBA from Berkeley Haas, and as a result of Trump's policies removing DEI and such, my scholarship was removed. And this has caused, in addition to his new policies, it's caused a cap on the loans. I'm currently financially struggling because I have to figure out how I'm going to pay for my next year's school.
Basically, when I was younger, there was an officer at our school who would always kind of interrogate me every day. I never said anything because, unfortunately, what can you say when you're black and alone? You kind of got to go with it and just go about your day. And the officer was never disciplined.
Financial racism. I'm a first generation person to go to college out of my family. I had to fill out the FAFSA. I was specifically disproportionately targeted for predatory loans. I got into 3 colleges. The only college that offered full scholarship, which is an HBCU, the State College, University of South Carolina, specifically targeted me with multiple loans instead of offering scholarships. Later, when I started working, because I was low income, so I had to continue to make money and also go to college, I had to take on those predatory loans, which then put me behind after I graduated as far as being able to accomplish the next level. Specifically, if you take a look at the way that they finance the loans inside of the United States of America, it's disproportionately black people have these loans where white people get specific grants, even though if you look at the actual transcripts and the testing, they're very, very parallel.
I'd just like to say that the idea of us having to explain racism to a black man is absurd. That's all I got.
Okay.
I have experienced discrimination. The reason I responded no to your question was if it held me back. No, it didn't hold me back because I fought against the discrimination, but I was discriminated against when I was looking for housing, when I was trying to get my master's degree. One guy even told me it's not because you're black. When I saw a bunch of white people, he did not want to give me housing. I was also targeted by the police on multiple occasions. And then 2 weeks after Donald Trump became president, I was on my lunch break at my job and a white guy drove past me and yelled white power. He was emboldened because of Trump's rhetoric. And that I've been called the N-word just walking on the street multiple times by white people who feel emboldened by Trump's rhetoric. And so I have struggled against difficult odds, but it hasn't stopped me because there's something inside of me that is determined to succeed, and it's because I want to help people. I want to be that person that I did not have. And so black people have striven against nearly insurmountable odds. That does not mean that there is not systemic racism.
So I actually wasn't going to respond at first because just like he said, I don't think that it held me back, but I actually had a full EEOC claim that I got fired based off of my race. And it took me years to get like my back pay and everything like that. And the basis is that there was like a discrepancy for like $35, and they tried to compare that to somebody at the same job who had did something for like 3,000 plus, and they tried to put us in the same basket when I just took the 35 on my wallet and tried to be like, oh, like it was a mistake. They fired me for that. But then on top of that, I came to find out from my coworkers that they had said things like, they needed to staff the store based off of the demographics of the city, and that there were too many black people working in there, that it was like driving down the consumerism. So at the end of the day, it didn't prevent me from being great. Like I was gonna be great regardless, you feel me? So that wasn't why I wanted to speak up, but it happens, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's not bad to say. I don't, I'm gonna just stop because I see bro tripping, so we good.
Honest to God truth, I have never experienced systemic racism or anything. Or racism. I've experienced a person say something racist to me, but it has no material effect on my life. It didn't stop me from doing nothing. This person called me the N-word while I was a cop, and I don't think it hurt me for 35/10 of a second. So I have never had anything racist, systematically, that have prevented me from becoming as successful as I am today. Not one thing. Now, can I respond to what everybody's saying? I think that when I listen to everybody's statement, there is no unequivocal proof that what happened to you was specifically because of the color of your skin. And we are talking about systemic. We're not talking about one-offs. You guys are giving a scenario. No. What I'm saying is that the occurrence that you are alluding to seems to be a one-off thing. It's not systemic. It's not a system in place. There's
Okay,
no
all right, Officer Tatum, I'm gonna have to stop you all. Santana, I'm gonna have to stop you all here because that's all we have time for. We tried something new, all right, so we are out of time now. I want to thank you all. You really brought your passion and your energy. I really appreciate you guys. So much respect. Give yourselves a round of applause.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Really appreciate it. All right, Officer Tatum, I also want to thank you for listening to everyone and being really graceful. I know it's not easy, so I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Now, it's been a great conversation. Would you be willing to continue this conversation on our podcast?
Yes, I would love to.
All right, well, I thank you so much, and I thank you guys in the audience for watching. I'm sure you have a lot of opinions.
Hey, man, shout out Brandon Tatum. Shout out Naima and Zena. Everybody did good, man. I rock with Tatum, man. It was a lot of subjective arguments, you know what I'm saying? Especially from him more than I thought it was gonna be. He went off a lot of personal experience and stuff like that. I think Zena and Naima, they was doing pretty good trying to bring up the facts though, man. So shout out to them, man. If anybody knows them, man, tell them to hit my line, man. Let's see if they can, withstand a debate with your boy, man. But alright, man, I love y'all, man. Appreciate y'all for watching the video, man. Peace.